Yeah.
Chicka, chicka.
Yeah.
Kill Bill and Rev. We don't suck.
All right, Bill, let's talk politics.
Okay. Well, we said not to. That's what I just asked you, but you were just apparently we're just
Not
doing
to do
whatever
what?
you want to do. Talk about politics.
We're like pile of dicks. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow.
Welcome back to the We Don't Suck podcast, episode 96. I know that on the last episode I said it was number 96. I was wrong.
Yeah. It's okay, man. It's okay,
Right this time. So here we are. Welcome back.
You remember Howard Dean?
Yeah.
Man, that sucks for him, bro. Imagine that. Imagine you just like you're like running for president. You have people that support you, and just because you said, "Ah!" like everyone's like just thinks you're fucking crazy. It's all just because, like it's like in a crowd, like you can't even like hear yourself. You know?
Yeah.
It's like asking someone to sing without being able to hear themselves. That's the equivalent.
So do you think really that's the thing that cost him the vote? Like,
Dude, I don't know anything about his politics or anything. I was just kind of checked out at that point in my life.
right, yeah, but I do remember that kind of being everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember that I watched a video on it, though. I'm pretty sure it was Wang or someone like Wang did a video on Howard Dean doing the scream and how it cost him the election. It might not have been Wang. I think it was something else. But, like, I'm not saying that he would have won or something. I literally don't know anything about the guy. I just know that it's really hard to take someone seriously when, like, all you know about them is them going, yeah! Like that.
Man.
What do you know? So,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is, though. So, Bill, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Cool. What's up? But I have a follow-up question to that. So,
Okay.
answer the first question first.
What was the first question?
Sup?
Oh, not much.
Cool. So, how about we make a top 5 list here and now? We improvise it.
Okay.
And that, which means that we do not stick to this top 5. It's just like right now, if we were put on the spot, if we had to come up with it, right?
Okay.
Top 5 hip hop voices. And I don't mean in a way that like, oh, yo, he helped so many people, or, I mean, I'm talking about voices as in like literally your favorite hip hop, like how people's voices sound.
Oh,
within
yeah,
hip-hop.
yeah. See, that's what I thought
Your
originally,
top
but then
5.
you changed it and you were like, oh, how many people you put, and then it took me off of that, but then you came back to that and I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
what
I just
was
didn't want
thinking.
anybody to think like, oh, why didn't they say Martin Luther King?
Yeah, dude. I loved his records. There's some good ones. He
Yeah.
had some bangers,
He had some slapper ass joints on his
yeah.
B-sides records, yeah.
Yeah.
Ass slappers, as they call them.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so top 5, like okay, just, in no particular order, who comes to mind? Like, as soon as we even start having this conversation, you can start saying names without having to put them in your top 5 immediately, but just, what are some names that come to mind when I say best voices within hip-hop?
Let me think about this for a second. I mean, I like Danny Brown's voice a lot.
Yeah.
It's super. I feel like just rappers that sound like fucking cartoon characters just automatically win my favor. Like people like Danny Brown, who like that doesn't sound like a human. Like a human doesn't talk like that. They don't go not like this. Like, I mean, I guess some do.
Right.
But Danny Brown is definitely up there. I like
You want me to throw some names out to give you some time to think?
Yes, I'm hyperventilating.
Okay, so some names that come to mind: MC Light, for sure.
Yeah, I feel that.
Or even Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn
Fuck
Hill
with her voice.
Yeah.
I would say Ice Cube.
Ooh, Ice Cube is a
One of
good
the
one.
most powerful voices, absolutely.
Yes.
And I would also probably put Ghostface Killah on that list.
Everybody wanted to sound like Ghostface Killah too. There's like so many rappers who are like trying to sound like Ghostface Killah or just naturally do.
Right, and I feel like he inspired a lot of that. I mean, I feel like West Side Gun
For sure.
is kind of, his style is a bit derivative of Ghostface performance back in the day, you know?
Yes.
So definitely those names are some of the ones that come to mind immediately. Ice-T, like early, you know, late 80s Ice-T. The 6 a.m, police out my door. Fresh Adidas sneakers, what was it? Fresh Adidas squeak across the bathroom floor, out my back window. I made my escape. Didn't even get a chance to grab my old school tape. Like that, just that voice was so tight to me.
Yeah.
And LL kind of fit into a very similar pocket for me.
For sure. Some more that I'm thinking of. I love Killer Mike's voice.
Killer Mike has a crazy voice.
I've always loved his voice, particularly like I like his voice now, but I really liked back in the day when he was doing all this stuff.
The Pledge?
Well, I was gonna say there's that song "Bust" by Outkast off of The Love Below.
Oh yeah.
And that actually I think it was on Speakerbox, but yeah, like I liked when they did his voice where it's like they mixed it to where it was like super like wide. And like it was like a bunch of takes, like it was at least 3 takes. I'm a sucker for that shit, man. Like I love like it's like super southern, like that's like a super southern thing. Like everybody just raps so many takes of them saying the same thing, you know, like the entire verse almost. Like you look at like
well, yeah,
like
I also
T.I.
think I associate Memphis a lot with that.
Yeah, for
kind of
sure.
sound.
But yeah,
Like Gangsta Boo is another voice I would put up there.
yes,
for sure.
yes, Gangsta Boo would be up there.
Q-Tip has one of
for
the
sure.
dopest voices in hip hop. Aesop Rock is a great one because no one sounds like him.
Yeah, like literally no one. Like
No one.
It's like
Yeah.
one of those things that I love voices that you can hear it and you just automatically know who it is. Like it can say one word and you just like know that it's them.
For that reason, I feel like we have to include Snoop
Yeah.
as well. Then,
Well,
'cause
like that's
for
another
sure.
thing. Like no one really sounded like Snoop ever. Like I mean, there's people that have like copied his style and shit. But
Since then, there were people that kind of sounded like him. I know that for a while, you know, Nipsey had some crossover,
Yeah.
like in his vocal range. I know that. I don't know. Wiz Khalifa is another great one where it's kind of a unique voice and accent and everything.
yeah, I like. Let's see. I said Killer Mike. You know, I like Freddie Dredd's voice a lot. I think his voice is really good. Sounds very like recognizable, like right off rip.
Yeah, it kind of gives me the similar Gangsta Boo kind of vibes.
For sure. Definitely like the same range, same style kind of thing. As huge influence there. I like Slim Thug has an outstanding fucking voice.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Dude, there's actually recordings of him. A lot of people don't know this, but I mean, I don't even know if people would care, but like Still Tippin' was actually taken, like the lyrics and the hook sample were taken from this freestyle he did when he was like 17.
That's wild.
It's called Fuck That, I'm a Hoe. That's the name of the fucking song. And like there's some things that are different because it's like older, like, you know, he says some shit about you know, the big most quotable line I think is that blowing on that Endo GameCube Nintendo.
That's right.
Well,
yeah.
he says in the original freestyle, and it's off the head. You can tell because he fucks up some and stuff. But he says, blowing on that Endo with my 6'4" Nintendo. And
Oh, wow.
I was like, that shit's so hard. But there's a couple of things that are different. But the hook, the still tipping on fofos and shit was taken from when he was like 17. And he sounds the same. Like he still sounds fucking like huge. I know he's like 6'6" or something.
Yeah.
Like he's like a really pretty big guy. But like his voice sounds like he's like 8 feet tall. He's like a giant.
for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, that 6'4" Nintendo line is better than the GameCube Nintendo line.
I don't know, man.
it's-
I don't know.
GameCube Nintendo is tight, but in my because the 6'4", it kind of has that meaning with the Nintendo and the whip. So
Yeah.
I felt like it just had like a better.
It just doesn't sound as cool. That's the only thing. Like in the original one, like if you hear it, it just doesn't have the same kind of like blowing on that Endo GameCube Nintendo. It just has this like some kind of super, and it's so of the time. Like it feels so
facts.
like
You're right.
yeah, but like it still sounds cool. Like it's just not the same for me. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so we got
Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys. You know, actually, I'm gonna be like straight up with you guys. I never really listened to Beastie Boys that much growing up. Like I've always been like I had like a few songs that I listened to, but I've never like owned a CD or like listened to a whole Beastie Boys CD.
Well, I feel like it's never a bad time to revisit Beastie Boys or like give them a go because they have a lot of classic records.
I listened to I don't know if this is the best one to listen to or not, but I listened to like the first like 3 or 4 songs from Paul's Boutique, and I really liked it. Like I liked the beats a lot and stuff. But
I mean, well then you did the right thing. Paul's Boutique is, in my opinion, one of their best records, if not their best record. But they had a lot of good records. Like they have a very solid discography. Like there's few artists. And you know what's funny? Like we look at a lot of rappers. There's like in the GOAT conversation, but I've always been more interested in rappers in terms of like albums. I like albums, right?
Yeah.
And Nas is one of the GOATs, but his discography isn't particularly strong. It's very hit and miss. But then you look at like De La, and they had like 4 albums right in a row, and they're all classics.
Yeah.
That was insane. You know, and Beastie Boys had classic record after classic record. Tribe Called Quest, those first 3 albums they did, and that last one they did, classics. Not many artists can boast to have 4 classic albums under their belts, you know? Kanye is one of the modern examples.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's kind of so many struggle to get past having just 3 incredible records. And Nas was someone who, you know, Illmatic was great. It Was Written was great. And then everything afterwards was very hit and miss. And there were some good moments, you know, Stillmatic, I feel like was overall a strong record.
Yeah.
God's Son had its moments and everything. But
can I just interject something? Just, I don't want to get super off topic from voices and stuff, but my problem with Stillmatic is I like the album and I like the album then, but I think it's plagued with like, I call them ditty drums. You know, like it'll be like these drums that are like, it's like these like super like, almost like,
sporadic.
It sounds almost like reggaeton influence. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like super like, it just doesn't fit Nas at all. And so like there's
Mace sounds amazing over it, but not Nas.
Yeah, but it's just so strange. And I've never really been a fan of that sound because it reminds me of like MTV Cribs for some reason. Like
I see.
That type of music, you know, it's like you do, and then you like come in and they're like, yeah, welcome to the fucking garage. And it'll just be like this generic like kind of melody behind it. It's like those, but better. Like that style of music, but better to me, you know? Or actually I would say it's a worse style of an already existing ditty.
Stillmatic also had like a terrible album cover, which I loved as a kid. It's basically him in like a velvet orange or velvet red
it's like a jumpsuit,
set of clothes,
like a jumpsuit type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a jumpsuit, and his hat also matches and everything. But it's velvety, which is kind of weird. And then he's like on this ledge next to a pigeon, because you know he's from New York.
Yeah.
But the way that he looks, if you look up that art, the way I remember it is it's like it's so poorly photoshopped. It looks really weird, him on the ledge, and his hands look massive because of the perspective.
Oh, no.
His hands are way bigger than his head.
No, dude, it's so funny because I remember loving this cover as a kid. But okay, yeah. He's wearing like I call it like the fucking Nelly jumpsuit. It's not really a jumpsuit.
It's like, dead ass.
It's like straight up like fucking like super baggy, but it's like a velvety what is that kind of material? It's not like fleece, but it's like that kind of fucking
something like that,
right? But it's like super velvety looking. And it's like the only thing that would make it more Nelly is if it was, instead of him wearing the New York hat like to the side, like it was like a bucket hat that was also that same material, you know, like it's super duper of the time. But like looking at it right now, I was like, yeah, the cover's pretty bad because one, it looks like he's like sitting like Spider-Man on the ledge. And his hands
it looks uncomfortable.
His hands are huge, dude. And the bird,
his hands are way bigger than his head.
The bird looks mad funny. Like the water looks mad fake. Like you can see Stillmatic and it's like on
it's
the
graffitied. The still is graffitied, and Matic is etched into it, but really poorly looking. Like obviously, it's on.
It looks like clearly like a Photoshop thing. But like, I also think like, what year did this come out? Like what, 98 to 2000?
No. I thought it was like 2000, 2001.
2002. Wow.
Oh wow.
I mean, to be
Okay.
fair, a lot of album art was bad in 2002.
Oh no, it says 2001, December 18th, 2001. So it's
Okay,
pretty
never
much
mind.
2002. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the album art. But Nas has had a lot of bad album art in general. There's a lot of artists that I feel like just don't pay that much attention to what their album art looks like, and that's always been funny to me. I know, like we started with saying who are our favorite voices. I think we kind of named some of our favorites.
No, dude,
right?
we got
Like
some. Hold on, I've been thinking of them while we've been thinking about this.
Method
okay?
Man.
Method Man. I think Doom has a great voice.
Doom has a pretty dope voice.
It's like
RZA. Yo, the RZA has an like, I know it's not for everyone. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but his like lisp
yeah, it's
and
tight.
like wacky delivery, it's so fucking dope.
Yeah, this is my favorite thing that RZA ever did, like by himself, was there's this song on the Afro Samurai soundtrack where it's like it's produced by him. I don't remember the name of the song, but the hook was literally like, it's like they sampled this woman that they paid to talk. Like it's because it keeps looping it. It's like weird. Like, but she's just like, Bobby, it's late. Come get some sleep. And they keep like just playing it over and over. But he freestyles. I think he freestyles because it sounds like way different and it sounds like almost off the head. He freestyles his second verse and it sounds really hard. But he says like something about like, I'm gonna go off with a sack of that doo-doo.
Yeah.
And it's so great. Yo, speaking of bad album covers, I just looked up the Nas Hip Hop Is Dead, and that's a really shitty album cover too.
Yeah. No, he's got just a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's like so sad because like there's so many rappers that I feel like fall in this category. Like Nas, I think Eminem is definitely like plagued by this, but there's like a lot of people from that generation specifically where like they can rap their ass off. Like they're really good at rapping, but like all of the other things are just kind of like phoned in from other people, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if Nas actually, I was gonna say if Nas was more like hands-on in his album art / his beat choice, but then I think maybe it isn't that. Maybe he's just not good at that. Maybe he needs a guy.
I think he's just bad at picking beats. I say bad. Of course, he's rapped over good beats too. But you know, when Nas did Nostradamus, he was big enough, I feel like, to get a lot of beats from different people. Right? He was on Aftermath. He was one of the original Aftermath people. You know, before Aftermath lost a whole lot of money and had to restart. You know, if I recall correctly, Dr. Dre recruited Nas, Rakim, what's her name? God, I'm blanking. Eve, maybe? I don't know.
Eve, yeah.
But he recruited a bunch of dope rappers, and it kind of flopped. But Nas always had contact with some, like, you know, people like Q-Tip, Pete Rock, Large Professor.
Yeah, but then he'll get like one beat from them on the album.
Yeah, but I'm sure they send him like a CD with beats, and it's like, yo, let me grab the one that sucks ass. You know, let me grab the least interesting one. Yo, Puffy, give me beats. You know, like it was just, I don't know, it's weird. Especially it's weird because Illmatic, I guess, just set such a high bar for beats.
Yeah.
For Nas, like, you know, you would think like, damn, this motherfucker's gonna have to go with just the dopest shit all the time.
Well, I think that they just wanted to keep. I think there was a time period where there was a lot of beats that had that like really crunchy. I would say lo-fi, but not lo-fi. Like it's just like mixed a certain way, but very well mixed beats and production in general. And then there was a time period where like people were going and everything was like evolving, and people like leaned into technology more versus like sticking to what they're good at. And so it was like all these like new heads coming in, and there was just like this time period in rap music where a lot of beats and everything was just poorly done because it was like the first
But
people to be
also,
on DAWs and shit, you know?
I have a feeling like sometimes these people get lost within their careers and they stop paying attention to the people around them
Yeah.
and paying attention to like new acts. Because imagine if we got a Nas album produced by Dilla or a Nas album produced by Madlib, right? Like, they would be classics.
Yeah.
And these people were, if Nas hit up Dilla would have been hell yeah. If Nas hit up Madlib and now, Madlib would be like, of course, you know.
Yeah.
No one shoots Nas down, but instead I don't know. I just feel like he never really went outside his comfort zone or like.
Yeah. I mean, he did just
he
did just do that thing that was produced by Kanye, and it was like okay, you know, it was all right.
In terms of production, that was his strongest record in a while. You know, like
Yeah.
That was really good. When he did the album with Damian Marley, that was very well produced.
I forgot about that. That was a thing.
Distant Relatives was an incredible record.
Damn.
I love that.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that shit. Yeah, the only record the only Nas record that I've like really sat down and listened to recently is like there's the Illmatic, but it's the one with the bonus disc, and I listen to some of that shit too. But like that's just like what I go for. Like that's what I know Nas for. And I loved I liked Hip Hop Is Dead when I was like 15. Like I loved that album.
Oh yeah, I still like some songs off it.
I like that. Wait, hold on. I just got it mixed up. Was Gangsta Boogie on that, or was that the Game? That was the Game.
Yeah, no, it's a Game. Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But it had the same sample. There was a beat with the exact same sample on it.
It was also produced by will.i.am, because I know will.i.am did a whole bunch of shit on.
I'm pretty sure because will.i.am was producing for a bunch of joints for Game and Nas around the same time, and he was flipping like classic samples.
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. The Compton or Gangsta Boogie, that was Compton. That was on the Game. Yeah.
Compton.
That shit was hard.
Gangsta Boogie. That was on Doctor's Advocate, right?
Yes, I fucking hate will.i.am, but I really like that beat.
I hate will.i.am, but he's produced some really dope joints, and that was a good album, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, no, it was great. There was like so many cool moments on that. There's like I think that it's like less classic moments, but like
it's less classic moments than Documentary, but I think it's a better album than Documentary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's like just overall better, but like
it just doesn't have Dr. Dre production, but
yeah,
that was fine. That was okay.
I mean, I think that the Game was like. I know that like he had a bunch of joints that were produced by Dre that was like that were really good, but I also think that like some of my highlights are the stuff that he did with Kanye, the stuff that he did with will.i.am, like the stuff that he did with fucking. I know he did some stuff with Scott Scorch. Remember that?
Scott Scorch. Yeah, I remember
that diss that he did.
Get the dick out your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, that shit was so fucking funny. I remember
Scott Storch, you stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, I remember. Do you remember like where you were when you first heard 300 Bars and Running?
Fuck. On my way to school.
Yeah.
Like my friend told me the day before about it, or maybe I found it online on a blog, downloaded it, and listened to it on my way to school, and then finished it on my way back from school because it was such a fucking.
Oh man, I know where I heard it. I know where I heard it first. It was I was at my grandma's house. This is before she had the stroke, and like I was basically living at my grandparents' house just because like I was at that age. I was like 13, 14. My grandparents lived next door, and I would just like I don't know. I was like not rebelling, but I wanted to be like away from my parents. You know what I mean? Like it was like cool. Like I'm like fucking. I'm at my grandma's house. I can do whatever I want. You know, it was kind of I don't know. And they had like Dish Network. You know, it's hard to get cable out in the country, so we had Dish Network, like satellite TV, and that came with. It was Sirius then, now Sirius XM radio, and I would always listen to. It was either Hip Hop Nation, Shade 45, or what is the punk one that would play? The Faction. That was it. I would either listen to those three. That was like my favorite ones. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to Shade 45. And actually, it might not have been. It might have been on Hip Hop Nation because I feel like it would have been against policy to play it on Shade 45 because of like it's dissing like 50 Cent or whatever. But
I was going to say, right. I don't think they could do that.
Yeah, I think it was on Hip Hop Nation then. And they played like the entirety of that. And I remember thinking in my head, because it was like him rapping for 300 bars, I was like, he's freestyling this whole time. For some reason, in my head, I was like, damn, he's so good at rapping that he's freestyling for 300 bars. Because somebody said in the beginning, like, oh yeah, such and such and such, we got a new freestyle from the game dissing all of G Unit, you know? And I was like, you know, they just throw the word freestyle around like super loosely.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing that and was like, oh shit, let's hear it. And for some reason also in my head, because I was very naive and thought this is how this worked, I thought he was doing that live on Hip Hop Nation and just like rapped that shit live. And then that was like the recording of it.
Yeah.
And I thought I was like, I heard the premiere, like him actually rapping it, but it wasn't. So.
No, I remember just thinking that, like, damn, his notepad
Had been crazy.
Like,
yeah,
fucking crazy, and that does his arm ever get tired?
Oh, hold on. I think we should explain what 300 bars and running is, because I feel like there's so many people. So, like, basically what it was, the situation was, the rapper of the game was in G Unit, which was owned by 50 Cent and had Young Buck, Lloyd Banks, Olivia, Tony Yayo. Am I missing anybody? It was like
the biggest thing back in the day.
It was huge. You know, they worked with Eminem all the time, and it was like this kind of like, you know.
50 Cent was the biggest artist in the world at the time.
Yeah, you know, they had Dr. Dre in the pocket. They had Scott Storch in the pocket. They had all these people, like these big producers. They were like the shit. Okay.
Right. And so, and G Unit was kind of like the main unit of G Unit was 50 Cent, Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks. They were friends growing up. They're all from New York. Then Young Buck joined, and he was meant to like represent the South. They were going to be like the first, like all over the place kind of group. And then like this new artist was coming up on the West Coast as part of like this movement called the Black Wall Street Bloods or whatever. And he was making a name for himself in Compton. Got noticed by Dre or Dre's people. He got signed to Aftermath, and I guess they integrated him as the West Coast member of G Unit.
Yes.
That was kind of the idea.
Yeah, he was the newest member of G Unit, and it was such a big deal because it felt like a lot of people were just adding people to their groups back then, like willy-nilly, and it didn't like amount to anything. You know, like it felt like a lot of times in like hip-hop crews that like they would just add people in just to be a part of the entourage almost. But like the game.
Yeah, like Wu-Tang had that a lot. Wu-Tang has so many, that's why they have so many affiliates. And I mean, eventually that happened to G Unit too, because Steve-O, if y'all know Steve-O from Jackass, he was signed to G Unit. He was one of the members of G Unit.
Isn't that wonderful?
Which is wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. But yeah, like, wild. So they integrated the game. I remember reading in so many magazines. I read so many fucking like rap magazines back in the day, and everybody was like talking about this dude, the game, and how he's gonna like save fucking West Coast rap music and like all this other shit, like in the mainstream. Basically, like the same kind of level. I wouldn't say the same level, but like definitely on par with how people treated Kendrick Lamar when he first came out. You know, everybody was like, this is the new thing. He's got Dre behind him, all this other stuff. It's going to be like a resurgence of, you know, bringing and that was like what that whole album was about, was like.
Right. He had an Eminem feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. This was going to be the new.
Yes, 50 Cent was all over the album.
Eminem was a success. 50 Cent was a success. The game was going to be next.
Yes. And I mean, sort of. And then they had some kind of dispute that ended out in like some kind of shootout at a G Unit thing. Is that exactly what happened? There was somebody.
Hot 97. So like, okay, so I mean, when I said the game was going to be next, that was from Interscope's perspective, right?
Yeah,
that was the plan. What ended up happening is that there was some sort of shootout outside of Hot 97 that got somehow tied to like problems between Game and Fifth, and yeah, it started from there, and then I don't remember the exact timeline, but not too long after that, you know, Game was caught saying shit like "GU not," you know.
Yeah.
That, which is funny now in retrospect. It sounds dumb, but back then that was kind of hard.
Yeah, it was kind of hard.
He started distancing himself from 50 Cent, and they started dissing each other and beefing, and that was a really wild time because they were part of the same family, and so as a result, Game's place as part of Aftermath Records was very short-lived. because 50 Cent was the bigger and more famous artist, and I guess they just pushed the game out.
Yeah, well, I think that it was, regardless of what actually happened, it was painted like, oh, the game was just causing problems, which I don't know. It could have been. It could have been like that. I mean, I think that it was probably some kind of ego shit, especially from, I don't know.
They're both egotistic.
They're both super egotistical, and I think that maybe there was some kind of obviously there was some kind of dispute. Somehow it get tied to the shooting. I don't know if anybody actually died. I think somebody got shot or something, and yeah, basically he gets kicked out.
Yeah, and then 50 Cent started claiming that the reason documentary was such a success was because of him. He said, well, those beats were my beats, and I gave them to Game, but they were meant for my album. And also, I wrote all his most popular songs, which at the time, the Game's most popular songs outside of Dream, or Dreaming or whatever it's called, was the stuff with 50 Cent. Hate It or Love It. It's probably, in my opinion, still the best 50 Cent and Game song in my mind. That was really popping. And then there was another one, like, was it How We Do or something like that? So they had a bunch of songs together, and 50 Cent was like the biggest artist in the world. So he was doing these hooks. And so he was saying that the only reason these songs even blew up was because he wrote them. He wrote the hooks. He was on them. And so Game was disputing that, you know, fuck you, fuck this, fuck that. It's just
I mean,
beef.
On one hand, you could say, like for example, like if I, who's someone who was just getting into hip hop at that time, or like really just getting deep into it, I probably wouldn't have listened to the Game if it weren't for him being where he was at. But
absolutely.
But
yeah.
I mean, so like on that front, I feel like that's valid. But also,
but you would have also not continued to listen to him if he wasn't good on his own merit.
He's great. I mean, I wouldn't say I could. It'd be hard for me to choose which one I like more in terms of like just records versus 50 Cent. But I will say that like he's definitely good enough on his own, and a lot of those like G Unit records don't hold up. Like, not saying the G Unit records themselves, but like the solo records don't hold up. But
no, I agree.
It's like the same thing. It's like I would never go back. Like I like Lloyd Banks, but I wouldn't go back and like listen to a Lloyd Banks album.
No one talks about like who's better, Lloyd Banks or Game. You know, like there's not. So, although I will say this, my favorite member of G Unit was Young Buck.
Young Buck,
so sad.
Young Buck. His music aged the best out of all of them, in my opinion.
For sure. I could still go back and listen to like Stomp and
I do.
Get Buck.
Jordan, my girl loves Young Buck. Like she loves like Shorty Wanna Ride. She listens to that song like, all the fucking time. It's such a good song. You know, and it's just so many, and it's so sad to see that like there was this whole thing with Young Buck was running into like a lot of financial problems, and then had some kind of public beef with 50 Cent like during those times. And then there was like 50 Cent leaked a phone call of him crying on the phone about money, like literally crying. And I was like, damn, this is fucked up. But
that was fucked up.
I love Young Buck.
Me too. What was your favorite album art? Since we're on the subject of reminiscing and we're talking about favorite voices, then we were talking about Nas's terrible album covers. What are some of the worst album art examples within hip hop you can think of, and some of the best ones?
I mean, like a lot of the Nas
and you can
ones,
include non-hip hop too, because like Gorillaz, I remember for me was critical.
I mean the first Gorilla. I'm looking at it right now. I have the first Gorillaz album like chilling, and I love the like white background with the Jeep. I really do like it. Some of my favorite album covers, I'm gonna obviously name the ones that I'm looking at on my wall. I love Pinata by Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. It's like a great one, such an iconic cover. I like the Death Grips Money Store album cover a lot.
That's a great one. That's really good.
Let's see. I love. There's like a cajillion different iterations of the Mr. Thug Isolation.
There's the black and white one.
But I like all of them for different reasons.
Right.
Like but I really do like the one with the hand, like the original one or whatever.
Yeah,
like I like that one a lot. Yeah, but Actually, I don't even think that's the original one. I think that's the record. The original one is the one with the wavy text and like the crying skeleton.
Oh, and the skeleton. Yeah. No, that's right. That's the
I like that
original
one too. Damn, I'm trying to think. A lot of them are going to be like SoundCloud like era stuff because I was just so into that. Like I loved the Raider Clan. I can't remember which one it is, but the one with it's the skull with the it's like a blue tinted skull but has the grill. Mm-hmm. Like I love that one. That's the one that has Petro on it. I can't remember the name of the album, but I'm trying to think what else. Give me some more that are good ones that you like, and then I'll give some bad
for
ones.
me, I mean, all the Run the Jewels ones are really great. I like the second one a lot because I love how the red popped. I do think what was it called? Killer Mike's Rap Music one was really fucking dope. It had such an old school feel to it.
Yeah.
There's a few Beastie Boys records that I thought had dope album art. Chronic.
Oh hell yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Artwork. Fucking Liquid Swords.
Oh man, dude, I listened to that album so much when I was like 16. I loved.
Yep. Liquid Swords. Food.
Oh,
Mad Villainy. Mad Villainy the best album art of all time.
Yeah, Mad Villainy really good. It's definitely up there.
How did that not enter my mind? But that Food is up there for me. It's like one of my best, my favorite album art pieces. And then also Ecstatic by Mos Def.
Wait, Ecstatic, that's the one with him is that the one him jumping and it's like a red
the dude,
tinted?
Jumping between
that shit's so hard, bro. I love that shit.
The pink and everything. Oh, it's so dope. I mean, it fits the album so well. It looks so dope. So I fuck with that. Trying to think of some. Oh, of course, all the classic Tribe albums, especially Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders.
Yeah.
You know, with their classic branding colors, red, green, and black.
Yes, those are some of the. What was the one that you showed me that was the Busta Rhymes one? It was Busta Rhymes, and it was the.
Oh yeah, it was like a little. Fuck, I forgot what it's called.
It's something of the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
It was basic. It's
so
like
fire.
it's like an EP or like a single release essentially.
Okay, I got a couple of them here. They're gonna skew in a different way. One of my favorite album covers of all time, which is objectively bad, but I love it, is Juvenile 400 Degrees. I love that one. I just like looking at it. Like it's just something about it that even though it's bad, I like look at it and like this is perfect. Like
yeah, it's like it's perfect for Flower Boy, Scumfuck, Flower Boy.
Oh yeah, Scumfuck Flower Boy is a really good one. I also like how everyone says Scumfuck, like leave Scumfuck out. Like no one ever brings that one up for some reason. They're always
That's
just
true.
like, Flower Boy.
No one does.
What else was there? Here's one. I actually don't like this record that much. I think it's one of this artist's worst records, and I am a fan of this person, but I love the art. Have you ever seen the art for Hellboy by Lil Peep? It's like him standing. He's wearing a red jersey, and it's like behind a red background. He's got pink hair, and there's something about it's like really pleasing, like pleasant.
Let's see, Lil Peep. What's it called? Hellboy?
Hellboy, yeah. I like that cover a lot.
Oh yeah. This is tight.
Yeah.
This is tight. The way the colors work. Another great front cover is Things Fall Apart by The Roots.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's a
black
good
and
one.
White photo.
Yeah, that one's great. Yeah. I like Acid Rap.
Acid Rap's pretty good. I remember when I saw it, I was like really iffy on it. I was like, what's going on? And then I was like, I get that it's a painting, but and it ended up really fitting the album actually, right? Like the colors and the space and everything. But it always made me feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, have you seen the original picture that's like taken from?
Oh no.
Hold on, I'll find it. I just sent it to you.
Oh, okay. Wow, really?
Yeah,
damn.
crazy, right?
Yeah, wow. That's crazy seeing it like that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's like surreal because like if you look back at it, obviously it's like a painting and it's changed.
Yeah, but the painting is really accurate. Let's just say that.
Yeah. It's like super on. It's weirding me out a little bit. I'm looking at them side by side.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
it's something scary about it. Yeah, he really looks.
Well, it's like I thought almost that it was like photoshopped at first after I saw it, but then like now I'm looking at it, it looks like a painting.
Yeah. So that's why he looks. Oh, I was like, why did he look so bugged out?
Yeah,
like,
it's because it's just him actually bugged out. Like,
yeah, no,
like,
dead ass.
He's probably on acid in that picture. He looks like it.
Yeah.
He's got that. He's got those Ascidian eyes.
Yeah, he sure does.
Man, what are some of the worst though? I'm trying to think of some of the worst.
Worst? Oh man, there's so many bad ones, dude. Like, where do we start? Fuck. Tupac had a lot of bad ones.
Let's talk about the tragedy of great albums with bad album art.
Great albums with bad album art. All right, why don't you kick it off?
I'm trying to think of one, but I know that there's plenty. Hold on, I'll just put my shit on shuffle and see what happens. Because I know that I've definitely... Oh, here's one that is completely unrelated. But whatever the album... Well, I think it was Straight Outta Cashville by Young Buck. That's a great album cover.
Yeah.
Him with the ski mask. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
There's something like super iconic about that.
Pretty hard.
The reason why is it's literally... we were talking about Shorty Wanna Ride. It's like pulled up on my phone because my girl was like, play that song.
Ludacris had some bad ones, like Chicken and Beer.
Oh, man. That one's rough.
That one's real rough.
I mean, it's a good album. I like that album.
It's a good album. It's a good album.
Yeah.
But the album art is terrible.
Yeah, it's rough. It's pretty rough, my friend.
I mean, it is of its time, though, kind of like, too. Like, it's bad, but it's got, like, that charm.
Yeah.
Master P, Game Face. It's not that that's an incredible record, but the album art was definitely pretty crazy.
I don't know that one.
You should look it up. The album art is...
Was it Game
pretty nutty on
Face?
that one. Yeah.
Oh, God. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
What's wrong with... Why would you do that?
I don't know. Do you remember Cameron when he came out with Confessions of Fire in 98?
No, I don't remember that
Oh,
one.
man.
Confessions of Fire.
Yeah, he looks like he's about to, enchant your axe for you.
No, he's got the sledgehammer. He's about to... What is he doing? He's like a blacksmith. He's like a supposed to be a sexy blacksmith.
Yeah, working in a foundry, right? Yeah.
What is the Purple Haze? That is a pretty good album cover. Yeah, it's not really a good album cover in a sense of like the design isn't very good, but I just think it's an iconic.
Yeah.
It's an iconic look.
Cushion Orange Juice, I know that might be a controversial one, but the reason I love that mixtape.
Yeah, it's one of my
the
favorites.
reason I hate the cover is because it's photoshopped. Like his head is photoshopped on an existing photo.
Yeah.
Of another dude, and his head, the proportions just don't look right. His head looks so weirdly small.
We love to see it.
It looks bizarre. So that one I have to add to the list.
Okay, let's see here. I'm on shuffle right now. I'm just skipping through to see if there's anything that like really like hits
Anything
me.
that catches your eye.
Hits me a certain way. Let's see
in
here.
the dick. Oh, Lil Flip, of course. How can we forget?
Oh, yeah, him holding the boombox. No.
Oh, I wasn't even.
Oh, you're thinking
no,
of
not that one. The Leprechaun.
The Leprechaun one. Oh my God, dude.
With Lucky Charms cover and like his face and everything. It's so funny.
Yeah, dude. Fuck it. Man. Oh, this is a pretty good one. This is a slept on one. Killer Mike. What's the name of it? I Pledge Myself to the Grind too, and it's him doing it's like the black American flag in the background, and him throwing up the C. That shit's hard.
That shit's super hard. I remember thinking that album art was fucking tight.
Yeah. Man. Okay, here's one. Even though I think that it was good for the time or whatever, Immortal Technique 2, the second one, is kind of shitty.
What was that on the cover of that one?
Hold on, let me see.
Is it like a thing on it?
Okay, yeah, it's like a picture. I don't even know. It looks like a picture frame hanging down, and I don't even really know what I'm supposed to be getting out of this. Like even the parental advisory looks janky. I'm about to send it to you.
You're talking about the one with the TV, like...
Is that a TV? Yeah.
I don't know. I always thought it was a TV and like a window frame to the side.
Yeah, but like why would the TV be hanging like that?
I mean, you're right. It's got to be a picture frame with just like a really weird shadow. But then the shadow doesn't work when you look at the window frame. The shadow's working the other way. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, it fits the record. And the other one is the first one, which is like a bunch of bodies, and it just has Immortal Technique, and then it's got like the communist sickle, and then
pretty bad too.
it's the microphone
I mean, all of his album art has always been bad. The Third World, I remember when I listened to that, I think DJ Green Lantern was that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad. And album art, to me, I know, like, you know, they say don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
But it makes a ton of difference for various reasons. So, for instance, I love No Love Deep Web by Death Grips.
Yeah.
That's the one with the dick on the cover.
Yeah.
And-
That's why you loved it.
And I remember I had to, and I really liked that album, and I remember having to download a censored version of that album art.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, if I was on the bus,
You just be looking at a dick.
and like I pull up my phone to see a text message or something, and that would be in the background, I know that would be like,
Yeah, I had a different version. It was like somebody on Tumblr had made like an alternate cover for it, and it was pretty dope. It was a picture of MC Ride, but he was wearing like this reflective jacket. I don't know if it was photoshopped to be reflective or if that's like actually just a picture, but you can barely see his face.
yeah.
Like through, like his hood is up or whatever. You can barely see his face, and it's like a white background, and the reflective jacket is like 3M, and it's like super bright. And I thought it looked cool, and so I just put that as the cover instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a little much to take it. I actually love the cover. I think it's great. Like, I think it's perfect.
Oh, it's super dope. It's super dope, but I remember like I couldn't just have it in public.
Yeah. You enjoy that one in private, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get hard every time I see it.
Yeah.
No, but there's certain album art that I feel like can make an album feel better. Like it's kind of part of the experience, right? You're looking at album art, and if it happens to match up with what you're listening to, I feel like it enhances that experience sometimes. And it can do the opposite, where the album is really great, but the cover is kind of ass. And it, not that it makes you dislike the album, but it just makes you wish the album art fit the album better. How about the last thing I posted?
Let's see this. Hold on. Monkey on the... Is it supposed to be dick?
I guess so.
It has by Magnolia Shorty. This shit probably slaps. It's probably a good song.
It's probably good. It's an album.
It's an album.
And remember, speaking of albums, don't forget Lil Wayne's "The Block Is Hot."
Oh,
album
hell
cover
yeah, dude. I get such nostalgia seeing this image. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's such...
But it's great.
awful garbage.
It's great, dude. My favorite part is why is the E like on Lil Wayne? Why does it look like that? It looks like a fat ass. It's like an E, but like it has like a fucking like injections in its ass to make it big.
It's
like a fake
fucking
booty.
chunky. It's a heckin' chunker. The E has the
dude.
most diamond in it.
I'm about to fuck that E, bro. That shit looks looking thick.
Yo, how about Lil doesn't even look like Lil?
It's like
those
super-
L's look
yeah.
like fucking Minecraft iron boots.
Oh hell yeah, dude! They look like little boots, tiny little boots, and then the eye is just a square. The eye is just straight up a square.
Eye's just a square, yeah. Oh man,
It's so great, man. Yeah,
like I love the lens flare on The Block Is Hot. There's nothing like you on Lil Wayne. You get that there's lens flares because it's diamond, right?
yeah.
Then The Block Is Hot is definitely not made out of diamond. It's like a weird, shitty.
It's kind of transparent, like a little bit too,
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
which makes it even weirder. Yeah, yeah. Those dudes were just on some shit. Like they were just like, let's make it crazy. I don't think
Look
like
how massive the parental advisory explicit content sticker is. It's just fucking huge.
yeah. I mean,
And in a random spot, just like there.
well, like it makes me wonder how much of this stuff was just like made in house, like it was just like their friends, or how much of this was like actually just like they thought it was good. Because like, okay,
This was like during the like Master P kind of era.
I know,
right?
but like, did these dudes think that it was like good art, or did they think it was just like funny?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was that feeling because I remember back then I thought a lot of this shit was kind of hard
Yeah, definitely.
because I was just like, damn, there's fire all around. They got diamond text.
Yeah.
Damn, you know, like when you're young, that shit seems hard.
Well, the thing also I want to point out is like, okay, my question to you is, is all that stuff in the background with the police cars and stuff, that's just photoshopped in, or is that like a drawing? Because I can't fucking tell.
Oh, it can be a drawing. None of those dudes knew how to draw. It's definitely a photo that's photoshopped in.
That's fire,
Just
bro.
like photoshopped so hard that it looks almost like a drawing.
Yeah, it looks like they just like cranked up the fucking the what is it? The HDR, like they just cranked that shit up
Yeah.
to where it's just this ridiculous looking. Yeah,
NWA Straight Outta Compton, where they're looking down on the camera.
yeah,
You know, like that one's super dope.
it is good.
That's like a classic. So many people were doing like parodies of that cover, you know, in the 90s. For me, album art really, I will sometimes buy albums just because the album art slaps. You remember when we bought Poly6 Hey Bob?
Oh yeah, it was like Hey Bob, my friend, or whatever.
Yeah. Hey Bob, my friend.
That's my favorite album from them.
Yeah, it's great. Well, new is also really good, and EU, but it's an amazing album by this Japanese. I don't know how to describe, synth punk is how I would describe them.
Yeah.
A synth punk band, and the album art was just super colorful, really pleasant, and honestly, I feel like low-key inspired Grimes's what's it called, Art Angels album art bit, which by the way is also a great album cover.
I'm looking at it right now. Hold on, I want to see the. Oh yeah, it is very similar. Like not like in the way it looks, but it's definitely like
just the layout and the like the colors, just like very Japanese kind of, you know, the what's it called, the strip,
I can't remember the name for it, but there's like a little strip over the top. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's got a cool name. But yeah, so that album art's always kind of like, it can really just like, if it catches my eye, I'll be like, I want to know what that sounds like, or fucking, I want to understand it. Like I remember the Ryo, I think his name is Ryo Fukui. He died a couple years ago. You've probably seen him all over the place. He was a jazz pianist in Japan, and his album art is just like the side profile of his face, and it's all red. The album art.
What's his name again? I want to look it up.
I think it's Ryo Fukui.
Ryo Fukui.
Yeah, it is Ryo Fukui.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. This is a great album.
Yeah, Scenery is a great album, and that album art is fucking great. I just love things visually that are just like, yes, you know, like I feel like the Ramona for me is that. Well, yeah, the Ramona album art is so perfect to me, you know, and it's one of those ones that I know that had I not worked on it and just kind of came across it, the album art would have sold it for me. I would have just like, I'm gonna give it a try. Conversely, is the reason why I didn't listen to Lil Uzi's fucking mixtape that came out a year or two later.
Yeah, that's right.
Where kind of low-key, I don't know, there were some similarities.
I mean, it was straight up ripped from the Scott Pilgrim comic.
And just recolored, right? And that looks terrible.
Yeah.
That looks, and you know what? I feel like that we need to address. I hate that trend in hip hop where it seems like these fucking multi-millionaire rappers find tracers on Instagram and pay them to do their album art.
Yeah, they did
What's
that
up
with
with that?
they did, who was it? 6ix9ine did that with
6ix9ine did that.
Man.
There's lots of artists that do that though. Like there's so many that we constantly come across every other year, and it's just, I don't, if you're so rich and there's so many amazing talented artists to work with, every time I work on a project, I view it as a collaboration. When I hit up a visual artist, I'm like, I want to work with someone new usually every time, because it feels like a collaboration. And there's so many talented people out there. You can really get some really great album art done, and yet so many people just don't seem to pay attention to that at all. And it shows. There's so much bad album art within hip hop.
I think a lot of times like okay, I understood the Uzi Vert situation. I kind of understood because like he was coming from, like he might have had a deal at the time, but I know that the first one was supposed to be like a mixtape, and it was like a lot of people doing stuff like that, like creatively. That was the whole thing, was like, I'm gonna be in the Scott Pilgrim universe. But I feel kind of like that does a disservice to like actual artists who could do something dope with that concept, because that's like a cool concept, you know, and you could do a lot with it. But instead of just like recoloring the character and it just be that character, but with your face tats and like your skin tone, like why not like have someone draw you as that person, or do something in the style of Brian Lee O'Malley instead of just like taking it and, you know.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know like what the whole situation was with that, but I know that like Brian Lee O'Malley was like, he didn't know that was the thing that was going on until like way later, you know, so it just like to me feels kind of like, you know, but
I mean, I don't necessarily blame the rappers, but I do blame them for like going. Most of the time, they'll find someone on Instagram. It's because someone on Instagram will tag them in a bit of fan art. But the fan art will be a Trace King of the Hill character painted black, and they'll be like, "That's dope." It's like me in King of the Hill. And it's like, oh, really? Really? Is that it? It's like the equivalent of the MySpace days where people would make their own South Park characters or Bart Simpson with tattoos.
Same. It's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of, and it's bad. And I mean, like, there's album art out there that isn't for everyone. Like, you know, Green Day had Father of All Motherfuckers that they recently came out with.
Yeah.
Pretty bad album. The album art's pretty bad, although I don't hate it. I kind of like it.
I do. I hate it.
You hate it?
I hate it. Like everything about it.
There's certain things I don't mind about it. I do feel like color-wise it's balanced out very well.
Yeah.
It's just that I hate that, like, the fact that it had to be a unicorn oozing, fucking, what was it? Rainbow fluid out of its nostrils over the motherfucker's part. It's like, how wouldn't it be cute to put a, unicorn in front of the motherfucker's part? Something about that is just super lame to me and forced. But it's not like the worst. It's not as bad as like, you ever seen that Black Flag album art for What The?
No, I've never seen that one.
Oh my God.
I'm about to look it up. Hold on.
No, I'm gonna link you to it. I got it.
Hook me
got
up. You got me.
Here you go.
Oof.
I got you.
That's rough.
And that's not, I didn't find a low res image. That's how it actually looks in the stores.
Wow.
Like the image is all the way blown up and it has all these artifacts.
What year did this come out?
Good question. It came out 7 years ago, 2013.
Are you serious?
Right? That's what I'm saying. I just don't understand.
I mean, unless they were trying to make something that looked bad on purpose.
Yeah.
But it's like not even like fun bad. It's just kind of like, what is this? Is that even artifacts, or is that just like, it has to be artifacts?
It is. It looks like it was drawn in paint and then blown up to fit the scale.
That's fire.
It looks like paint because of the way it's artifacting.
Man.
It's got to be paint.
It made me think that it was like, what is that thing in paint? It's like the spray paint tool. That's what I thought maybe I was looking at. But then I'm like looking at it close. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just shitty.
Yeah, it's just bad. And that's not hip hop, but just saying there is stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of hit and miss album art out there. It's just I as an artist would hate to put out an album if I felt like the album art was real bad.
Yeah.
Unless that was part of the idea. Where it's like, oh, it kind of has to be bad. Sort of like the Deep Love, No Love, Deep Web. It's kind of like bad, but it's good bad. Like it works,
Yeah.
It's very much.
But that was the intent. It's like, is it even bad, or is it just like unpleasant? But then there's ones that aren't bad, but I don't like. So for instance, I love Aesop Rock's Impossible Kid album. I don't like the album art. It's too much. I could see that. I mean, I don't hate it.
I don't hate it, but it's too much. I don't get it. It's just too much for me. And I get that it was like, it's supposed to be like kind of, I guess, channeling an era and everything. But I don't like it. It just doesn't look good to me, But then I loved Skeleton. And then I loved the record he did with Tobacco, right?
Yeah.
But the album art, I'm very iffy. Like, the album art, on the one hand, it's perfect. Like, the colors and everything. But it's also so gross, I hate looking at it.
Oh yeah, I don't really like looking at it either.
Like, I love how the colors look and the line work and everything is dope, but god damn it, you know?
I'm like just now analyzing the Impossible Kid cover, and because like I never like sat down and just looked at it, like really like stared at it, you know? Every
Yeah.
time I've seen it, it's always been like on my phone, and I've just like never really like analyzed it because it's so tiny.
Yeah.
But it kind of doesn't fit the album. Like I feel like everything.
It doesn't.
I feel like everything. I like everything but the like little creature in the center.
Yeah,
with the cat.
exactly. The little kid with the bat wings and everything, which is, I guess, supposed to be young Ace, or I don't know. But that was a bit like, I don't know. Because most of the time, I really fuck with Aesop Rock's album art.
I will say the one thing that I really do like about it, like outside of it being like, you know, an Ace thing, is like if you took that creature away in the beginning or in the center, it all reminds me a lot of like Adventure Time. Like the font looks like Adventure Time.
Oh yeah.
The creature like above, it's like kind of coming down.
Above it, yeah, it has a very, yeah, absolutely.
Super Adventure Timey. Like, and I love Adventure Time. It's like one of my favorite things.
And
in
the new
world.
album art, I'm also kind of iffy on. It looks great. Don't get me wrong. The Spirit World Field Guide.
Is that what it's called?
But-
Spirit World Field Guide?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like officially an album because I haven't heard the whole thing, or whether it's supposed to be. Let me see. Yeah, I think so. It's going to be an album. It's going to come out this year. I just don't know when, but a bunch of songs have already come out. And I saw it looks good. I don't know if you've seen it. It's basically like a little deer floating in the forest
Yeah, with the skull.
with the skull like shooting. It looks dope, but it just I'm looking at it, I'm like, this doesn't make me think Ace though.
Yeah, I think my only beef with it, and this is just the variant that I'm looking at that has like the Aesop Rock on the top, like has Aesop Rock on the very top part, and then says Spirit World Field Guide on the bottom. Like the Aesop Rock being like blurry in that way, where it's like the great, it's like a blue, a green, and a red.
Yeah.
Like transposed like that.
Yeah.
That feels like super. Like this is. It reminds me of like dubstep or something.
Exactly. I'm looking at this cover and it made me think of like some sort of electronic within the sphere of
like
electronic music.
If it was anything else, I would be like, yeah. Like if it was an electronic record, I'd be like, this is a dope electronic record cover because there's a lot of really shitty ones, and this would be like good for that. You know what I mean? And I like the bottom, like with the symbols and everything. I think that shit's cool.
That's dope.
It's just like, it does feel a little weird. I mean, I don't hate it though. It's fine.
I don't hate it. I was like, I still prefer it over the Impossible Kid one. And for Impossible Kid, man, he came out with this poster when Impossible Kid came out, and I remember wishing that was more so the album art because I like its simplicity more. Here, I posted it in the chat.
Let me see here.
Because I just like the colors better.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it kind of, but that being said, I do love his album art. I remember Bazooka Tooth.
Oh
looked
yeah,
so ill.
Yeah, it's a really cool one.
And I remember when I first saw Labor Days, I was like, is this like Linkin Park? Not Linkin Park, sorry, Limp Bizkit, because it had like very.
Oh yeah,
it looks like,
yeah, it's very much like of that time. It does look like a Limp Bizkit or something.
It does look like a Limp Bizkit album.
Man, it must have been really weird being like a weirdo rapper back then.
Yeah.
Like, was like, because I don't really know, because I was a little late to the Aesop Rock party. I got into Ace like around the time that he came out with. God, what's the name of that album? It has Citronella on it and fucking.
Oh, None Shall Pass?
None Shall Pass. Is that the name of the album?
Yeah, same.
Okay, yeah.
None
That's
Shall
like when I
Pass.
got into him, and so like I don't know anything about his like come up like that.
I was even later than that. I mean, it was before Skeleton, but it was after None Shall Pass. It was like when I was in college.
Oh yeah,
or maybe my last year of high school.
Last year of high school for me, because Yun put me on. Yun and Spawn were both like super into Ace, and they were like,
I see, yeah.
It might have been actually a little bit earlier than that. It might have been like my junior year or maybe my sophomore year.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I remember just coming on, like seeing all the stuff that Dev Jokes did in general, and especially Ace and L and Cage, and I don't know, man. It was so cool and so of its time. And you're right. Like, it must be weird. It must have been weird to be a weirdo rapper. I mean, like, Idea. Also, I love his album art that he always had. R.I.P. It's been 10 years since he died. Just crazy to think. It still feels so recent.
That is crazy, man.
I saw an interview. And again, guys, I'm sorry. This is another one of those episodes where Bill and I
Fuck it. Don't apologize.
We're enjoying a conversation.
We're enjoying a conversation. If they want to leave, they can goddamn get out of here.
That's true. We're already in this like for like an hour long. And if you're still here, like, when are they going to stop being nerds?
Fuck? They need to stop talking. They talk too much.
Why are they enjoying their conversation? Yeah. What the fuck is this podcast? Where they talk? Yeah, Slug was talking about how the first time he heard Ace's music was in the 90s. The Eminem's Slim Shady EP towards the late 90s started like being passed around a lot, started being popular because he just came away from doing a bunch of like hip hop battle stuff, you know, Scribble Jam and other places.
Right.
And was kind of earning himself a reputation from that shit. And then he dropped Slim Shady EP, and it was kind of like a underground classic at the time.
Yeah.
Right? And so what happened was someone like ended up mass distributing it as a mixtape, the CDs, all over, I guess, the Midwest. And when for some reason, there was a B-side to it, essentially. And that was, what was it called? Food for Earthworms by A$AP Rock.
That's crazy.
So somebody just put it, like, maybe it was a fan who decided to, like, you know, make a bunch of money off of selling Slim Shady EP bootlegs. And they just decided to put Ace Rock on the B-side. And that's how Slug first heard of him. And that's how apparently more than 10,000 people first heard of A$AP Rock. Because that was made in college. He did that in college.
Yeah.
You know, he recorded it in like a little recording place in college. He recorded 2 albums in college.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
I always hear about like that. Like there's like a lot of people who like go to college and then they use the recording equipment that like they have there.
But yeah, the one he used it was for like recording student films.
Oh hell yeah.
So it wasn't like perfect for it. And he produced most of his stuff back then too. And he was going to
that's kind of like
for art, for drawing.
That's kind of like where I'm getting at though. It's just so strange because like I guess at the time it was this like burgeoning scene of like a lot of people were doing a lot of new things, you know, even if it was stuff that we think is like pretty simple now, like where it's like new metal. Like the idea behind new metal is just like, oh, we're gonna like infuse metal with a bunch of other genres. But at the time, that was like some new shit to an extent.
It was.
So like,
it was like a fusion.
So it feels like there was a bunch of people. That was like the 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s. Feels like the time of fusion. Like everything was thrown together in this kind of way that like, and people were receptive to it. So it makes me wonder, like, when Ace first started rapping, did he know that he was like making something that was really strange? Did he think it was going to go nowhere? Did he think that he was going to be like as successful as he was? Or was he just not thinking about it and just doing it? Like, there was no blueprint then for like this type of rap music. And
well, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, yeah, because you're right. And also, I feel like it's interesting because I feel like there's a resurgence of wanting to fuse genres, right? Because everything's kind of bleeding into one another now again. But from what I understand, like the mid 90s is when like a movement was birthed for like this new wave of underground music. So like if like I listened to this podcast called the Super Duty Tough Work podcast, and it's spearheaded by Blueprint and Illogic, which is awesome, man. They've got
that's tight.
Over 100 episodes.
That's real sick. I need to get on
that every week. Every week I listen to that podcast, and they did this one episode that was really funny. They did it last year, where 10 rappers we're supposed to like, but we don't. And they're like, this is the people and they're like, Talib Kweli was one of them.
Well, that's funny for some reason.
And they brought up some of his lines, and I was like, that's true. These are terrible bars, right? He just sounded dope, but like these are horrible. And they're like, he was corny, and everyone assumed because you were like in the underground, people associated him with underground, even though like they saw him as mainstream, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, but the best thing that ever happened to him was his association with Mos Def. Mos Def, they agreed, was like a genius. And I think all of us in the underground see Mos Def as, one of the greatest to do it. But Talib Kweli is kind of like this weird, just kind of...
Yeah.
He was the J. Cole of his time. J. Cole is another artist they brought up, actually, as well, in that list.
Yo.
I agreed with everyone on that list, man. They brought up Eminem, they brought up J. Cole, and they said like, oh... people are like, oh, but yeah, like, y'all from the underground, you probably came up listening. Like, no, we came up listening to Company Flow. And they kept bringing up Company Flow over and over and over again.
Right.
It seemed like that was the thing that shifted everything.
I see that. Yeah. I could see that because Company Flow is kind of interesting because it was like you could play that on the same playlist as like Nas or something like that. But also it was like... It was just accessible enough in that way to where you could like listen to it if you were just a rap head and it would be normal to listen to. And they sound hard, like the beats are hard. But then on top of that, it's a lot of like vocabulary that wasn't being used at the time and like songwriting choices that weren't being used at the time. Yeah. At least like in that.
No, facts. Like, yeah, like in the specific way. And him, the song where he talks about like his stepdad beating his mom and shit and everything, and the way that it's delivered, and that was new. And then like the 8 steps to like, I don't know, man, everything was so different and interesting and new, and they were very verbose. And another record I'd say was central to the movement was Deltron 3030.
Yeah.
Another one of those records where it's like, damn, this is some nerdy ass shit.
Yeah, I love that album so much.
It's a great album. Apparently, it was inspired by Mega Man X.
Really? That makes sense.
He was like, and he's so cool. He was in an interview with DJ Vlad, and he referred to him as Rockman X, and then had to correct himself to like, oh, Mega Man X, so that Vlad would understand what he was talking about. I was like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is a thing. It's like an interview with him, but they go into his house and he's just like showing off. And I watched this interview like right when I was super getting into him, because I went through this phase where I loved the first Gorillaz record because I feel like that was like what got me into. Like, it was my first rap record, really. Like, my first, obviously, it's not just rap on that album.
Right, but the first record that had rap on it that you fucked with as well.
And I loved those songs and the way that he rhymes, and he's very, like, it feels like I'm watching a movie when he raps a lot of times. And then, like, I got into Deltron, and then right after that, I saw this thing of him walking around in his house, and he just lives in this normal-ass house. And he opens up this fucking thing. He's like got like a bunch of like anime VHS stuff. And I was just like, oh yeah, this is my man. Cause it's like that specific era of like the dirty VHS tape era of like anime watching. Like when it was like some real nerd shit. Now it's like people say, oh, it was like people say like watching anime is nerdy now. Like back then you were like weird if you had VHS tapes of anime shit. And which is so strange because that's like the best era of like that. Right.
Yeah. And because we were kids, we were lucky to have that in the 90s. Yeah. I had a bunch of VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
Anime cassettes. But yeah, no, those tapes were, I remember, like it's so funny to see him, someone who's like this hip hop artist. I don't know. It was just like, it was this new kind of movement. And so a lot of people like that influence people like Ace and Illogic and Blueprint, and I would say probably I wasn't not Slug. I'm guessing not Slug, but I'm guessing Idea probably.
Yeah,
a bit. Just inspired a whole movement that then ended up inspiring us. And honestly, Company Flow, Funk Crusher Plus still inspires me too.
Yeah.
It's not my era of music in the sense that like, I wasn't 5 years old walking around listening to Funk Crusher Plus. Being like, this is it.
But man,
you know, but
what is that
when
one
I discovered
beat?
it in college, it changed my life.
What is that one beat? The dun dun dun. That fucking. What is the name of that song?
Dum dum dum. Fuck. It's
Soon you'll see. There's a flow fluently a frequent. That one.
frequently. Yeah. Oh man.
I can't remember the name of that song.
I've
but
been the nastiest one since birth. Was it Fuck.
has that fucking New
Vital
York.
Nerve?
What is it called?
Vital Nerve?
Vital Nerve, yeah, Vital Nerve. Like
Yeah.
that is still to this day like holds up as like one of the hardest beats ever, dude.
Oh, man.
Because it's like everything's
Yeah.
perfect. It's got this melody that's just like just right. Like it's the drums are so hard, and my favorite part is that New York sample, like New York.
Yeah.
That shit sounds so
Yeah.
fucking hard, bro.
So hard.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that,
And
that
Last Good
carries the
Sleep.
whole album for me. Like anytime I show someone that album, I skip to Vital Nerve just so like they'll like
Oh,
know.
man.
You know.
Start with that one, then show them 8 Steps to Perfection, and then close it on Last Good Sleep.
Yeah.
Because Last Good Sleep is insane. It's just L. And again, that was unusual mid 80s to talk about something really personal like that, and especially like your mother being beaten by an alcoholic stepfather.
Yeah.
That was not like now, you know. There were doors that were opened by a lot of people in hip hop that have allowed artists to feel more free to express certain things. And I feel like LP was super instrumental to a lot of us sad boys, you know, whether it's directly or indirectly, he would have either inspired us or inspired someone who would have inspired us to do that. And so we owe it a lot. And also without Company Flow, man, Cannibal Ox is essentially like has so much of that Company Flow feel to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that Cannibal Ox Cold Vein record is a classic. It's one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. You know?
So basically what you're saying is that it all comes back to L.
Not that it all comes back to L, but what I do say is like, it is crazy to see how I do feel like L was instrumental in inspiring people like Ace and, you know, a bunch of people from that era in general, even Kweli, you know, he would say that.
Yo,
and
hold on. I wanted to say this earlier, but then when you were talking about Kweli, so I had this coworker a long time ago when I was working at Ruby. His name's Oki. Shout out Oki if you're listening. I know you listen sometimes, so if you're listening, this is going to be really funny. So there's this dude named Oki, and he always had really bad rap opinions. Like, he listened to good rap music, but then sometimes I think he would just say shit just to be, like, contrarian, just to, like, fuck with me. And so we're sitting there talking about, he's just like, yeah, you know, he's like, I was talking about Black Star, and I was just like, yeah, man, I love Black Star. He's like, yeah, you know, Talib's, like, so much better than Mos Def. And I'm just like, no. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, that was the thing that set this off. And I was just like, damn, dude, I bet you're going to say the Big Boy's better than Andre now, right? And I like Big Boy.
Yeah.
Okay. And I like...
Big Boy's amazing. I
Yeah.
think they're both great.
They're
right,
both great, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, I'm
Right.
like, I love Andre.
You're just trying to be contrarian, right?
Yeah.
If you're saying.
And so, so then, like, we're going on through the night, and we're talking about all these different rap groups. I'm just throwing them out to him. He's just, what's your favorite Wu-Tang Clan member? What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? Right? But then, like, he said the wildest shit I ever heard in my life. I was like, who's your favorite member of the Lox? I was gonna say, who's your favorite member of the Lox? Jadakiss or Styles P? And he was like, Sheik Luch. And I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you're just fucking with me now.
Yo, Sheik's dope, but come on, he's not in that conversation. That's hard. That'd be a hard one.
He was just like, ha ha ha, I walked away. Like,
That's hilarious. That's a hard one for me though, because I really fuck with Jadakiss, but Styles P, I feel like he's too slept on too.
man,
like,
they're perfect together. They're like perfect.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Like they balance each other out in a way that like a lot of rappers, like it's like they're
and
made
they were
to
on
be a duo.
Rockefeller.
Yeah,
That's crazy
dude.
too, right?
Man, Jadakiss, Jadakiss put out was he on Rockefeller when we put out Why, that album or whatever, the song with the Why. I had that one.
Yeah.
It had this one song on that was really bad. It was produced by Pharrell called Hot Sauce to Go. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just got fucking. Why would you put? It's so weird. They just all these New York rappers that were born like Jadakiss was born to rap over grimy ass beats that sound like you're gonna get murdered to. That's his voice is perfect for it, and he just sounds so good on it. And they're like, okay, we're gonna get Pharrell in here, and we're gonna make a booty shaking anthem. About him talking about hot
that
sauce.
shit's wild.
It's
that
so weird,
so
dude. It's so weird. But there's so many good songs on there, though. There was Welcome to D Block was on there that was like produced by Eminem and had Eminem on it. And then there was
that's right. Yeah.
By Your Side. That's a great beat. Like and he did the New York thing where he like I'll be right, and then it's like by your side, you know, like it ends it with They loved doing that shit back then. But there was like so many moments where I was like, what the fuck? Why is there?
You gotta tune in for the rappers we're supposed to like, but we don't, by Blueprint and Logic.
We're gonna listen to that when we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Super Duty Tough Work. Two other rappers they brought up were Pac and Big.
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And I agreed so much with everything they said.
Yeah. Are you? I think we've had this conversation before, but like, if you had to choose between Pac and Big, who would you pick?
It's tough for me, man. It's really tough because like I liked what Tupac did with Digital Underground, the All Around the World same song.
Yeah.
You know, like the first time we saw Tupac, I loved that era. I like like they're like Dear Mama, you know.
Yeah.
So and Brenda's Got a Baby. So there are moments like that, but then Biggie's first album, was it Ready to Die was his first album? Or
I think so, yeah.
It was so stellar. Like, I don't know. And like I just feel like Biggie was a better rapper. you know, like
I was conditioned as like, because I had a friend who was a really big Tupac fan when I was in high school, like middle school really. And he was always like, man, he's like the best. He's the best ever. My friend always burned me CDs all the time. Yeah. And he would always burn me like stuff from his brother's collection and stuff. So we were always like super into, like I was into Tupac and like Bone Thugs. He was like a huge Bone Thugs fan. Yeah. And like, here's my like official statement on the Tupac versus Biggie situation. So like, I think that Biggie was a better rapper and made better albums than Tupac did. However, I still maintain that Tupac's verse on Thug Love with Bone Thugs and Harmony is like better than anything Biggie ever wrote.
Really? Better than Kick in the Door?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Kick in the Door is great. It's good. It's like super sampleable. There's so many quotables, but like that shit just sounded so fucking hard with the gunshots instead of the snares at the end of every 4 bars or whatever, or 2 bars even. And the whole fucking
I thought that beat was insane.
That beat was crazy. I still like it. I still think it's like super tight.
I do too. I'd like it less now. I mean, like, it's dope, but I would have to be in a very specific mood to put it on, right?
Oh, see, I listen to that type of shit all the time. So I'm like,
for me, it's just like it. I guess maybe because I'm just a little more cynical now, it's become a little corny to me. But as a kid, there was no question in my mind that Tupac was better, because I love Tupac. He had a huge discography compared to Big, right? And that All Eyes on Me was a double album. I think Biggie's last record was a double album. By the way, both of them shouldn't have been double albums. They're too long and shitty. But but as a kid, there was also this feeling Tupac was made into a god. Biggie was too, but Tupac was like, he was like, a son of a Black Panther, and he was so outspoken, and he had such a powerful voice, and he was so proactive, and he was working with people like Snoop and Dre, and so he felt larger than life. And then when he died, people treat that's something that Blueprint and Logic say. Biggie and Pac died, and everybody treated them like they were fucking Bob Marley, when in reality they at least saw it as that they brought a lot of negativity to hip-hop. Like, what Biggie and Pac did is kind of led to people like 50 Cent and Game flourishing. in the industry through beef and constant like friction, and then it went from gangster rap being telling a story to kind of like convincing others you're better, you're stronger, you're cooler, you're more of a mafioso than the next person, right? Which to an extent I guess Ray was already doing, Nas was sort of doing, but that still felt more storytelling.
It wasn't the same kind of even it's just their cultural impact. Like I could never see Illmatic. I could never see like Nas or Raekwon or any of those dudes having the same kind of cultural impact that Tupac and Biggie did, in the sense of like people's moms knew who Tupac was. People's mom knew who Biggie was. Like people's grandma knew who Tupac was. You know, they were like,
it became so huge, but they did a lot of bad for hip hop, and they were young dudes. Look, they died in their early 20s. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like they were bad influences. It's just I feel like what's wrong is that we made them into these
like deities,
fucking gods. Yeah, like they weren't that. They weren't the best rappers of their time. Jay-Z was alive, and he was better than both of them. Reasonable Doubt is still a better album than anything Pac or Big put out, and that was out before either of them died.
Yeah.
So and Nas already had Illmatic, and it was written out, and we had great hip hop music around. It's been years. We've had De La and Tribe. We've had Wu-Tang. So it's not like, man, Pac and Big, they birthed hip hop or something like that. No,
I think that it was like mainstream in a new way with them.
It was for sure, and it was the bragging thing. You know, like we wouldn't have a Rick Ross if it weren't for a Biggie. Not just because they're both like big fellas, but because Biggie kind of brought this whole like, yo, let me show off, let me flex, you know, kind of thing. That was him, like styling on people, talking about what he was wearing, who he was sleeping with, all of that. He kind of just made it like we already saw some people kind of do it, but no one did it like Big. And with Pac, like him going from like this woke ass dude to becoming like, in my eyes, a bad influence on a lot of people, was a little sad to see in retrospect. Again, when I was a kid, I didn't know nothing about this. It was like later into my life, I fell in love with Tupac's music, and I went chronologically. And when I got to All Eyes on Me, I remember like lying to myself that I liked the album. Like it had some joints, but I was definitely lying to myself that I really liked this music, because around the same time I was listening to Gangstar. And I've definitely preferred Gangstar to Tupac.
I think with me, I listened to Tupac in the perfect way to listen to Tupac, which was I never had an album, and it was always just like the best songs compiled together. And so like even some of the songs that I wouldn't even consider like, okay, for example, like I like the song I Get Around. I don't think it's like a great song or anything, but I still like it because I listened to it back then. But like to this day, I've never sat down and listened to a Tupac album front to back, and I really don't intend to.
You don't need to though, because even Tupacalypse Now, which everybody like regards as like a classic, had a lot of duds on it. Same goes for Strictly for My Fellas.
Yeah. Strictly for My Fellettes.
Fellets. So I don't know. And again, and I know this is within hip hop, this is blasphemy, right? To talk about like, but that's
not anymore.
To
though.
Me, okay, it's not anymore, thank God. But also, it's like, yo, we can't do that with people in general. They were people. They were young men, and they did a lot of great shit, and they made a lot of great music, and we can all agree that it's regrettable that their lives were taken away so soon, right? That's absolutely, there's no disputing that. But making these people into like these fucking gods, and
they became the Beatles. They basically became like this thing that like it's like a no-no to say anything negative about their records, because they were such a big deal for so many people, and they were like, oh, no one can fucking top Tupac, no one can top Big, like, you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, it was just it became the narrative. But then now we can look back on things and be like, maybe this wasn't perfect. You know,
wasn't
maybe
perfect,
you know,
and it's cool to, I think, remember and appreciate them. But I wish we looked back and appreciated people that are still with us, that, in my opinion, were better and more influential within the realm of hip hop to other rap artists back then. Like people, I don't feel like as many young people are familiar with Big Daddy Kane and Rakim,
yeah.
and it's a shame. These are the dudes that transformed hip hop from like, and I'm walking down the street and I'm doing fine, and from that to like, you know, like rapping and doing this shit, and I come through and with multis and everything, you know, it was fresh. It was so dope. It was new. And then young kids like Tip and Nas went and transformed, and RZA went and did their own thing with it, and they started evolving it and pushing it. And then we look back at the era, and what we remember is Pac and Big. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, though. I think it's just like people. I think that Pac and Big are like the goats for people who don't listen to a lot of hip hop, or like listen to just a very specific brand of hip hop. I think that most people that go back and like, if you're really a rap nerd, you at least, even if you don't listen to them, like I don't really listen to Rakim or Big Daddy Kane, just like to do it. But like I have a like respect for like what they did. You know what I mean? Yeah. Also, Slick Rick. I forgot to mention Slick Rick. I feel like he deserves to be in that conversation too.
Yeah. He had an eye patch.
Yeah. Well, also he was like the storyteller rapper, right?
Yeah, I know, but he also had an eye patch, and that's something that
Big Daddy Kane had the swag, and he was doing multis. Rakim was doing multis like no other, and fucking metaphors and wordplay. He was just fucking nasty with it. Slick Rick was telling stories in a way that's just like nobody did before.
Yeah, and he had an eye patch.
And he had an eye patch, and then people like Nas took all of that and like evolved it.
He took his eye patch?
He took his eye patch, man, and he evolved it into a second eye.
He's got the fucking Metal Gear Solid 4 eye patch. Nas is like seeing the future through his one eye. Like.
Yeah, you can see through walls. Yeah.
Exactly. Nas is
like hip hop
RoboCop played by Nas, and he's got like a magic eye patch, dude.
Yeah, he's hip RoboHop. Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
sorry
dude.
about that. Yeah, no, but
that's rough.
And I guess like I'm like I consider myself a hip hop nerd, but I know there's like hip hop nerds out there that are like even deeper into this shit than me, especially if they're like 10 years older than me, right? I'll admit that my knowledge of like early hip hop, like 80s hip hop, early and mid 80s hip hop is like not as good as it is of like, you know, 2000s and 90s and 2010s, because that's more so what I grew up listening to. But I appreciate everyone that came before and how like it all evolved. Like it's crazy to think, and we've talked about this before, but just like there's something about, I think what makes it amazing to me about hip hop is also the fact that it came about as like a matter of circumstance. Like the fact that sampling was the way that hip hop started, with like just break beats being sampled, was because like people couldn't afford to have full on fucking instruments and recording equipment and everything, and so that kind of ended up being a way. And then hip hop is the thing that birthed the idea of using two vinyl players at once, and like the way that it ended up being used and scratching and all of that. And
there was so many there's so many things that came from that too.
From
like
that, yeah, like the first instance of rapping was when DJ Kool Herc was like started looping the break beat, right? And then I forgot the dude's name. Damn, I'm terrible. He was like one of the people hosting the party, picked up the mic and started saying every names out loud of the people who were at the party, and people thought that was so dope. There's this break beat. So for those, again, if you never listened to us talk about this before, breakbeat was like during like a, let's say you have a soul record or R&B record, there would be a moment where there would be like a drum solo or like a drum and bass solo, and it would kind of transition between parts of the songs. And so DJ Kool Herc took that and looped it, so it would go, and it just got looped, and a dude grabbed the mic and started like, "You're my man Peter right there, and my man Steve over here," and my like doing all that. And it's you know, it probably sounds funny now.
My man Adolf right here.
Mussolini, I see you. Yeah, it was you know, it's funny to look back at it now, but it's like it came from such a, I don't know, the fact that it came from such a simple place, and like the way that it was done, it was through fun and everything. It's so exciting, and then seeing how fast it evolved, and so many people took to it differently. Some people went more sample heavy. Some people went with like more like a techno-y hip hop. You know, like kind of more electronic sounding hip hop, and then there were people who took more like to like more the soulful kind of stuff, and then the kind of stuff we know now and remember hip hop for, like the jazz rap and everything, that was kind of more so Tribe Called Quest and Native Tongues in general. I feel like they kind of took that and made that commonplace within hip hop, right? But it had to lead to that, and there's just so many stages and so many great evolutions and interesting things about hip hop. So to me, as someone who's a hip hop nerd, people fixating on Tupac and Big is just a bit. I feel like I just wish people were also more aware of like Mobb Deep. I mean, people know Mobb Deep, but I feel like people don't talk about Mobb Deep as much as they talk about Biggie, and people don't talk about Bone Thugs as much as they talk about Pac. And I don't know, you know, there's so much of hip hop out there that's just so beautiful and inspiring and been so influential to me. So that's so if I sound like a hater, I'm not.
You're being a fucking hater, bro. You need to hang it up.
Myself?
In good conscience, I can't tell you yes, but like in every way, yeah.